Stop saying yes automatically. One of the biggest reasons many of us feel overwhelmed isn't because our lives are too full. It's because we say yes too fast. We say yes even before we pause and ask ourselves, do we even have the capacity to handle the yes? Hey, friend. Welcome to the Rise and Rebuild podcast. This is your space to breathe again. A space for women of color, single women, and single mothers to finally feel seen, deeply supported, and reminded that you don't have to do this journey alone. My name is Lydia, a certified life coach and founder of Break the Cycle Global and a proud cycle breaker. Around here, we don't just talk about life. We get real about it. The messy, the magical, and everything in between. From breaking unhealthy cycles to mastering your mindset, navigating relationships, parenting, career, money, faith, healing, and so much more. This is where we rebuild when life doesn't go as planned. I know what it's like to feel stuck because I've been there. And now, my heart beats for women like you, ready to rise up and embrace love, abundance, and confidence. So whether you're carrying painful wounds, facing another hard season, or simply ready for a fresh start, you are in the right place, my friend. Grab your coffee, warm your tea, and welcome home. Because this is where we break, heal, and rebuild together. Hey, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Rise and Rebuild podcast. Happy Wednesday, you all, or whatever day it is that you're listening to this episode. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Lydia, and I empower women like you to rise and rebuild. Welcome home. Well, my friends, it's still January, and in my opinion, January has a certain energy to it. I don't know about you, but for me, most Januaries comes with hope, fresh starts, and good intentions. But if we are honest, it can also come with pressure. You know, a lot of pressure to do more, pressure to fix, pressure to say yes more, pressure to want to do and do and do and do and even overdo, pressure to take on more stuff. And without realizing it, many of us can start the year, myself included, the same way we ended the last one. And that is why today's conversation is really, really, really important. I want us to pause and agree on boundaries you need to set this year. You and I need to sit down and agree that this year we are just not going to live on autopilot. This year we are not just going to let life pass us by. And this year we are going to be very intentional. And that is why you have to start setting some certain boundaries. Today's conversation matters a lot because this is the time when we overextend ourselves, especially around this period as the year begins. You're setting goals. You want to be seen like you're doing more. This is the season that I want you to actually pause. So today we are talking about the boundaries you and I need this year. Not boundaries as walls. You are not cutting people off. You're not setting boundaries to punish anybody, but you are setting boundaries so that you can get clarity for your next journey. You are setting boundaries as a form of self-respect, as stewardship, as a way of you telling God, I'm a good steward of the things that you've given to me. Because when you don't choose your limits and boundaries intentionally, life and people will choose them for you. And you know how? Through exhaustion, you'll get resentful, you will burn out. And sis, that is not the business we're about to do this year. We are not doing that. No. So let us start by asking ourselves first, why do boundaries matter so much? Because without boundaries, you lose clarity about where you end and where others begin. And so boundaries matter so much so that you can stop taking responsibilities for things that are never yours to carry, so that you can stop absorbing emotions that are not even yours to fix, so that you can make decisions that are intentional, that are aligned, and not from guilt and not from comparison or pressure. So boundaries matter so much because boundaries are what restores order, and they help you distinguish between what is your responsibility and what is someone else's work, what requires compassion and what really requires limits. And so when you live without boundaries for so long, you get anxiety, you get frustrated, and you quietly burn out. Again, let me say this. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are not about setting up walls. They are not about you cutting people off. They are about protecting your capacity so you can show up intentionally instead of depletion. Boundaries allow you to stay connected without disappearing. Boundaries, actually, one of my coaches once told me, they help you love yourself and other people without losing yourself. They help you give without you emptying your cup dry. And when boundaries are in place, trust me, peace becomes something you can sustain, not something you constantly have to chase. That is why, in my opinion, I think boundaries are not optional. They're not. They are an absolute must-have for you to live a peaceful life. They are foundational. They are something you must have so as to have peace in your life. Now that we understand why boundaries matter so much, it's important for me to clear up some misunderstandings around boundaries. Because a lot of us resist boundaries, not because we don't need them, but because we've been taught the wrong things about boundaries. For instance, for many women, the word boundary feels very heavy. It can feel very confrontational, right? It can feel like you want conflict or someone wants conflict when you talk about boundaries. So we avoid it. But really, boundaries are not about controlling people. They are not about changing other people or changing someone's behavior. They are not even about making others understand, agree, or approve of you. Boundaries are about self-responsibility. At their core, boundaries are the limits you set to protect your emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. They are the standards that will guide how you will engage with people, situations, and demands. In simple terms, boundaries answer just one question. What am I responsible for, and what am I not responsible for? Remember, you are responsible for your own choices. You're responsible for your time. You're responsible for how you respond. You're responsible for your energy. You are responsible for your values. What you're not responsible for is managing other people's emotions, fixing other people's relationships, fixing other people's reactions, or keeping people comfortable at the expense of yourself. You're not responsible for that. And so that distinction alone can be life-changing and can help you understand what boundaries are. Another misunderstanding I have to clear is boundaries are not requests. You're not requesting or asking for permission. They're not something you wait for somebody else to permit you to enforce. They are not something you need to explain over and over again. Boundaries are just internal decisions most of the time that shape how you behave. They can even sound as simple like you will leave conversations if you're being disrespected. You will stop responding to messages during your rest time. You will not lend people money if they never give it back to you, or you will not lend money that you cannot afford to lose. Notice there, none of those agreements require someone else to agree. It's just you agreeing on how you will operate going forward. Boundaries, most of the time, they don't need permission. They're not requests. They're just quiet little agreements that shape how you behave and operate with other people. They don't even require you announcing to people. They're very quiet. You don't need long explanations. They just simply guide how you show up and what you choose to participate in and who you choose to participate with. And as I've said, please note, boundaries are not about building walls. They are not about cutting other people out. They are about creating clarity for you. They let the right people know how to stay connected to you in healthy ways. And they naturally create distance from dynamics that are not healthy for you, that require you to silence yourself or feel small for other people to feel big, or set yourself on fire for others to keep warm. And so as you start setting boundaries, something that I also want you to know is that you may notice something very uncomfortable at first. People who benefit from you lacking limits or lacking boundaries may actually resist them. And that does not mean that your boundary is wrong. It just means that those relationships were built on access, on what you can give, on you overgiving, on you overextending. They were not based on mutual respect. And that is why some people are just uncomfortable with you setting boundaries. Remember, boundaries don't destroy relationships. They actually expose unhealthy expectations and relationships. And so now, once you begin to understand boundaries as less about what you say and more about how you live, you begin to set yourself up for a peaceful life. Now, what areas or how do you start to set boundaries? And what do I really want you to set boundaries on this year? Are you ready? I have a few points for you in places where you may want to start auditing and look at the boundaries you have in place. If they are not healthy, if they are too rigid, because some of us can set very rigid boundaries. If they are too porous, think about them. Think about those boundaries. So number one, stop saying yes automatically. One of the biggest reasons many of us feel overwhelmed isn't because our lives are too full. It's because we say yes too fast. We say yes even before we pause and ask ourselves, do we even have the capacity to handle the yes we said to? We say yes before we even check our energy levels, before we even pray and ask God about it, before we even ask our spouses, if you have a spouse, before you ask your children about it, before you ask whatever interested party there is to whatever you said yes to. So we say yes to covering for people at work, and you know very well you're overextended. You say yes to explaining yourself over and over again. And most of the time, that yes is not even coming from you being aligned or you being okay with that. You're just saying yes out of habit because you're used to, because of guilt, maybe because of fear of disappointing people, maybe from the need to be seen as the loving one, as the dependable one, as the one who's always showing up. You know, we just say yes because we're used to saying yes. We don't know any better. We don't know that we can actually say no. Did you actually know that every automatic yes you say is a silent no to something else? So every time you find yourself saying yes to something, no, there's something you've said no to. And then later, after you've said yes, you feel the weight of it. You start complaining. You feel stretched thin. You wonder why you're tired again. My dear, this year, one of the most powerful boundaries I want you to set is learning how to pause. You don't have to answer immediately. You don't have to decide on the spot. You don't even have to fill the silence with agreement. You're allowed to say to people, I will get back to you. Let me think about it. I need to check with my partner. I need to check my capacity. I need to check my schedule. That doesn't work for me right now. And you're allowed to say no. So I want you to pause. It is not rude to do that. It is the responsibility. It is you stewarding your time and capacity well. All right. So the first place I want you to start setting boundary is stop saying yes automatically. The second thing I want you to start doing this year is stop over explaining your decisions. Let's talk about this one. Because for many women, this is where so much of our energy leaks out. Some of you are not tired because you're doing too much physically. You're actually tired because you're constantly explaining yourself. You're explaining your yes, you're explaining your no, you're explaining why you have to rest, you're giving justifications why you're setting boundaries, you're explaining your choices. You know, I said no because of this and that and that. I said yes because of this and that. And then you get tired explaining. And that explaining doesn't always come from you knowing what you need. You're maybe just explaining to feel accepted or to feel welcomed or not to feel like you're disappointing the other person. And most of the time it's because you don't fully trust your choices. You lack self-trust. You don't trust your own decisions. So we are always looking for validation outside. So you want to offer context. You want to soften your no. You want to add some extra words in there just in case. And then what happens? People still push. People still question. People still have opinions. And now, guess what? You're exhausted. And still, you're misunderstood. So this year, one of the most freeing boundaries you can set is letting your decisions stand without a speech. No long conversations, no explanations. Just say that doesn't work for me, period. I've decided something different, period. Actually, one of the most shocking thing that I found when I moved to the US is people don't explain anything. If they need to be out of the office, they don't need to give an explanation. I found that very weird coming from a culture where you have to explain why you're out of office and you went to which doctor and bring a report from the doctors. People here don't give those explanations. They can be taking their cats to the vet for all they care and they don't need to explain. And I found that weird at first, but now I am learning that it's actually a boundary. You don't need to explain so many things to people. You can't handle that at the moment. They don't need to know why you can do that. So I found it very weird, honestly, and awkward. But now I totally get it. That is a very healthy way of setting boundaries. Sometimes it can be too rigid, yes, but I think it really serves what it needs to serve because then people are not on other people's businesses so much and their decisions are final and they don't need to explain themselves. They check in, check out whenever they want, and they just have that autonomy as a human being. And I think it's a good thing because I don't need to know your business, right? So stop over explaining yourself. Let your decisions this year stand. The third thing, stop being the emotional dumping ground for people. This is a big one. And vice versa. Do not be the one emotionally dumping on others. Listen, some of us are emotionally exhausted, not because this life is hard. It is hard, yes, but because everyone brings their hard to you, right? People want to vent to you all the time. People want to unload on you. People call you when they're overwhelmed, when they're upset, when they're confused, when they're spiraling. And because, oh, Lydia is this compassionate girl, you listen, you're soft spoken, you listen. You're the strong one, so you continue to hold space over and over. You're the loving one, so you stay even in dysfunction. But you know what? When people keep on dumping on you, where do you vent it out? You know, garbage in, garbage out. So where do you vent that out? And here's the thing that we don't always want to admit. The fact or just because someone trusts you with their feelings doesn't mean you're responsible for carrying them. While I know being the emotional dumping ground often starts with good intentions. You may be wanting to be supportive, you want to be there for people, you want to be seen like you care and you are available. But I'm telling you, over time, this pattern becomes unsustainable. As a coach, I set very clear boundaries on that because people can dump on you intentionally or unintentionally. So I want you to stop feeling guilty when you can't show up. I want you to stop feeling guilty because when you absorb all this stress that is not even yours, how do you process it? And that is why you find that you're so exhausted. And vice versa. Stop dumping on other people. Get help, get professional help. Your girlfriend is not and should not be your emotional dumping ground all this time. Your spouse should not be. They care about you, but they can't hold you all the time. Get professional help if you need to. If you need to speak to someone, ask them if they have capacity to hold space for you and expect the same from people. Teach people how to treat you. So do the same and people will do the same to you. I try as much as possible not to call somebody randomly and vent to them while I can get myself coaching or therapy or speak to somebody available. I try my very best to even ask if they have the capacity to hold space for me first. I don't just call people randomly. Stop waking up in the middle of the night and calling people randomly. Let people not call you randomly and you pick. So this year, protect your emotional space. Not so you can love less, but so that you can love well. Because when people are not dumping on you, you have the capacity, you have the grace to love them well, to respond objectively. You get me? Number 4, stop rescuing people financially. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about money. Because as women, this is where we stay stressed in silence. Some of you are so overwhelmed financially, not because you don't have money or you're financially irresponsible, but because you keep saying yes to people when your financial account and your peace is already shouting at you, I cannot support that. You are giving what you don't even have. You lend money you can't afford to lose. You send help even when you're behind on your own plans, on your own budgeting. You go into debt for people. I used to be that girl. I would borrow for my friends and give them money. Something deeper was going on there. But let's be honest, I got burnt. Some of those friends I gave money, they never returned it to me. So we stopped being friends. Money as a fast and sure way of breaking friendships. So this year, I want you to stop being the financial help for people and rescuing them. And for many of us, especially in the Black and immigrant families, there's what people call black tax. That unspoken pressure where because you're the one who's doing better than the others, you're the one who's probably gone abroad, you're the one who finished school, has a degree, you're the firstborn or you're the lastborn, you're expected to build your parents a home, whatever that looks like. You're expected to carry and pay it off and support siblings. You never actually pay it off. It's like a debt you owe for the rest of your life. Let me tell you, sometimes this giving can come from real love and there's a real need. I agree. But sometimes it can also be a burden that keeps you in survival mode because you're carrying financial responsibilities that should not be resting only on your shoulders. As a child of the home, as the eldest, as the lastborn, as a mother, as a wife, you don't have to carry everyone's financial burden. And I'm not saying don't give. I'm not saying don't help. I'm not saying become selfish with your money. What I am saying is stop giving in a way that is depleting and putting you in constant stress and chaos. Because when you start to rescue people, it's not the same as generosity. Generosity is giving from peace, is giving from abundance, is giving what you can afford to lose. And when you give from that place of generosity, you usually don't regret. But when you give from a place of fear, guilt, or the need to be seen as the one that's got it, or the one who's always helping, more often than not, it usually ends up in regret. You either lose friends, you either lose family members, you either have strained relationships because of money, you either are in big debt because of money, because you took money to lend out or to make some poor financial decisions, and it just lands you in a very bad place. So this year, it's okay to tell people you're not able to help them financially. You cannot do that if you are drowning yourself. It's okay to let people know you're sticking to a budget this season, and if you're able, you'll support them. It's okay for people not to give you their long list of financial expectations and you saying, I cannot support that right now. You're not anybody's savior. You cannot save them. You're just called to steward your resources better. And so take care of your money this year. Take care of your resources. I learned my lessons the hard way. I got burnt myself. I used to be in a lot of debt when I was in financial and money cycles, and I would borrow here, pay there, borrow there, pay here. So I was always in constant cycle of debt that never seemed to win off. And so you can find yourself there if you have zero financial boundaries. And if you ask me where the money was going, I cannot tell you. That's about money. The fifth one, stop staying in draining conversations. Some of you are entertaining conversations that are not building you. You are entertaining conversations that are clearly draining you, that are emotionally heavy, that are going round in circles, that do not seem to have a beginning or an end, or they're just not constructive conversations. Some of you are entertaining disrespect wrapped in, I'm just being honest. Have you had people tell you, well, let me just be honest, that doesn't look so good on you? And in the real sense, they're diminishing you. They are making you look and feel small. So you continue to entertain such conversations. Maybe it's in a marriage, maybe it's in a friendship, maybe you feel like you don't have an option but to just stick out with this person. My dear, if a conversation keeps draining you, it's not helping you grow, it's not helping you heal. And so, one of the biggest boundaries you need to set this year is learning how to disengage from such conversations. You don't need to respond. You don't need to comment. You don't even need to be in that conversation in the first place. Just be absent from all of it. A conversation that is not building you, you don't have to waste your time there with people who are draining you, with people who are hell bent on bringing you down. You don't have to stay in conversations that cost you your peace. This year, you need to set those boundaries clear, crystal clear. You can end those conversations as soon as they begin. You can even tell people, I'm not going to continue with this discussion. If they bring something up in the midst of you discussing something else and you feel like this is not a conversation I want to be in, you can tell people, I don't want to be in this conversation at all, and walk away. The other thing I want you to do is stop ignoring your body. Listen, women, as we continue to grow old and as we continue to age well and fine, you find that our bodies are just going through a lot of changes. But what do? We push past exhaustion. We don't rest enough. We don't get enough sleep. You silence discomfort. Sometimes you feel pain, exhausted. You have headaches. You have tension. You have digestive issues. You are constantly feeling like you're always on the edge. You're moody all the time. You know what? We need to start listening to our bodies more this year because our bodies are saying something to us. And so, one of the most important boundaries you can set this year is a physical boundary for yourself, where you will listen to your body, you will honor your body. If it is time for you to rest, it is time for you to rest. If it is time for you to sleep, it is time for you to sleep. If it is time for you to go to the doctor, it is time for you to go get a checkup. If it is time for you to just be and not do, then it is time for you to just be and not do. Because if you're not going to choose rest, your body will eventually choose it for you. And most of the time, it doesn't choose the best for us. So what? Take control of your body, set those boundaries, time boundaries, limit yourself, get off the phone, go rest, go sleep, take a nap, go out, exercise, eat well, take care of your body. That is one of the boundaries you need to set this year for yourself. Granted, there are physical boundaries that you also need to set for other people, like touch, like who's allowed to get close to you, what things are you getting into your body, what clothes are you putting on, are you cleaning yourself up? God designed your body to function, and so take care of it. Do not neglect your body as a woman this year. Do not neglect yourself. I know life can be busy, but just being honest, one of the boundaries you need to set this year is around your body. And when you start to listen to your body starts to speak to you, and your nervous system will finally start to feel safe because now you're giving it what it needs. And when your body feels safe, guess what? Everything else becomes easier. So this year, stop overriding your body. Care for it. Listen to it. Protect it. Because your healing requires a lot of rest, not just effort. Number 7, and I think this is the final one, stop carrying what God never assigned to you. Some of us are carrying burdens that are not ours to carry in the first place. You're carrying responsibility for other people's choices. You're carrying burdens and guilt for outcomes you cannot control. You're carrying pressure. With everything that is going on in the world today, you're trying to fix so many things. You are staying awake at night and thinking and wondering and worrying. You know what? There's some things that are just beyond our control. And God has not assigned us the responsibility of trying to save the world. I know there's a lot going on. I know there are things that can trouble us in this time and age. But guess what? We are asked to give it all to God. Let us not carry what God never assigned us to carry in the first place. Stewardship has limits. He has called you to steward, not to overfunction. God has not called you to sacrifice your peace because you are worrying about everything else going on in the world today. So this year, one of the most powerful boundaries you can set is learning how to release what is not yours to carry. It's so hard for people to stop worrying. Reduce that need to worry. Release the need to control other people. Release the pressure to rescue people. Release the guilt for saying no. Release the belief that your worth is tied to how much you do for others. God is asking you to trust Him to take care of that. You are not people's savior. You cannot save the world. There's so much going on. And so one of the boundaries is the need to want to carry what God hasn't given you to carry. The need to want to know everything that is going on out in the world. The need to want to know what is being said where, what is happening here, what is coming on. Information is good, but again, too much of this information going on here can put your body in an overdrive, in an anxiety mode. So I want you to limit what you are taking on that was never even yours in the first place to carry. This year, please let God be God and let yourself just be human. Full stop. Let God do what He needs to do. Yours is to steward what He's told you to, and you're not going to be just nonchalant and not do anything. You're not just going to be there, or you're going to be aware of stuff going on, but you really don't have to immerse yourself so much. So those are the boundaries I need you to think about. Those are just some of the areas you can start setting boundaries and things you can start doing this year. You don't need to set all 7 boundaries at once. You don't need to overhaul your entire life this week or this year. You don't need to confront everyone who's crossed your line before. You just need to notice where your boundaries have been leaking. Once you notice where, then start taking small shifts to fix that. Start just saying one no at a time. Start protecting your time. Start protecting your energy. Start protecting your body. Start protecting your money. Start protecting your relationships. And once you start doing that, you will slowly be inviting peace into your life, because then you're not carrying everybody's weight. Then it is clear that you can love yourself and love other people at the same time. Remember, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about keeping yourself intact. They help you show up for others and show up for yourself at the same time with intention. All right, my friend, that's all I had for you this week. I just wanted to quickly talk to you about boundaries for you to start thinking about, where could I be leaking? Where do I need to tighten my boundaries? Where are my boundaries too tight that I need to loosen up a little bit, leave a little? You don't have to be so uptight. Some places don't need rigid boundaries, but some places don't need porous boundaries as well. What you want to achieve is a healthy balance of the boundaries. You're not selfish for choosing boundaries. You're not disobedient. You're not pushing people out. You're just stewarding the life God entrusted to you. All right, sis. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. Go gently this year. Choose peace, choose boundaries, and try as much as you can to just set one boundary this week and let that be enough. Until next time, my friend, stay grounded, stay faithful, stay grateful. Let's break, heal, and rebuild together. Take care.